Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's story isn't just another ghost tale. It's a legend that has haunted Japan for decades. One of the country's most cursed urban myths whispered about in late-night forums and passed down in hushed conversations. It begins on the outskirts of Tokyo, where rain falls over tangled forest paths, vines choke the stones, and a broken wooden gate leans against the dark. Locals say if you follow that path long enough, you'll stumble upon the last trace of a place erased from every official map, the Himuro Mansion. According to legend, a Shinto ritual meant to bind the dead went terribly wrong within those walls, opening a gateway to the underworld itself. Some who go searching for the mansion never return. Others come back changed, their eyes haunted, their voices broken, carrying whispers of what lies below. They say some doors don't just lead inside. They lead down into something you can't escape. So, stay with me, subscribe if you dare, because tonight we'll step through that broken gate and uncover why some doors should never be opened. Akemi was, on the surface, an ordinary university student in 2003. She spent long nights in the library, surrounded by flickering fluorescent lights, the hum of outdated computers, and the quiet shuffle of other students fighting deadlines. Her professors knew her as diligent but distant, always chasing after obscure sources, diving too deep into corners of the internet most people ignored. Her purpose was simple, even admirable. She was writing her thesis on urban legends and how fear spreads online. The early 2000s were a strange time for the internet. Message boards, niche forums, and half-broken websites that looked like they could vanish any day. For Akemi, these spaces were alive with whispers. Some users posted about ghosts, others about cursed tapes, and once in a while someone would claim to know the way to Himuro Mansion. For most students, this kind of topic would have stayed academic, just citations, theories, and safe distance. But for Akemi, it had turned into something else. Obsession. She didn't just want to write about legends, she wanted to see them, to test whether fear was just a contagious idea or something far more dangerous. Her life outside of research was painfully ordinary. She lived in a cramped Tokyo dorm room, her desk cluttered with half-finished instant ramen cups, printouts of forum posts, and a second-hand camcorder that she bought from a pawn shop. Her friends teased her about chasing ghost stories, but she only smiled, promising that one day she would prove them wrong. So when she printed out a map from a website that no longer existed, its domain already wiped from search engines, she felt the thrill of stepping into something forbidden. She packed lightly, the old camera, the map, and a weak flashlight. No talismans, no charms, nothing sacred, just tools of a researcher. On the morning she left, Tokyo looked normal as ever. Salarymen rushed to trains. Students laughed in convenience stores. The world moved on, unaware that Akemi was choosing to walk towards silence. She boarded a suburban line, the city's neon shrinking behind her, until the windows filled with dense forests and the weight of stillness. Her story began as any student's project might, but sitting alone on that rattling train, Akemi felt a chill that had nothing to do with the autumn air. This wasn't just study anymore. It was a step into the unknown. Akemi tightened the strap of her backpack and steadied the camcorder in her hand. The forest path seemed ordinary enough. Overgrown grass, damp soil, and the faint smell of moss after a long summer rain. Yet almost immediately, the first sign appeared. The camcorder's screen stuttered. Lines of static cut across the image even though the battery was full and the tape was brand new. She frowned, tapped the side, and told herself it was nothing. Old equipment does that, right? But then she noticed her breath. In late August, Tokyo's outskirts were usually hot and suffocating, yet clouds of white mist curled from her lips as if she had stepped into winter. She rubbed her arms, laughed nervously, and whispered, "It's just my imagination. The forest is cooler at night." She kept walking. The locals' words echoed in her mind. Don't stay past sunset, or don't come back at all. She had dismissed them earlier as superstitious warnings, stories villagers told to keep outsiders away. But as she filmed the narrow dirt road, something strange filled the frame. For a split second, her camcorder captured the outline of a wooden gate, its surface strangled by vines, its hinges rusted like something abandoned decades ago. She blinked, lowered the camera, and looked directly at the path. Nothing. Just wild grass swaying in the breeze. Her pulse quickened. Maybe she was tired. Maybe her mind, already filled with horror forums and ghost stories, was playing tricks on her. She forced herself to keep filming, whispering, "I need this footage. It's just distortion." Still, the forest didn't sound right. Crickets had fallen silent. The wind carried a low moan that didn't match the movement of the trees. She tried to ignore it, but the noise seeped into the tape, a faint whisper under every frame she recorded. Later that night, she would watch the first 37 seconds of her video over and over. It began with her steps crunching on gravel, then a sudden burst of static, and then the unmistakable image, that vine-covered gate. The moment her lens focused, the tape cut to black. Akemi laughed it off in the moment, but to anyone watching, it felt less like a glitch, and more like a warning. It doesn't happen once, it happens every day, like the same nightmare choosing a new doorway. Akemi's clip, 37 seconds, keeps re-uploading itself on forums even after she deletes it. Each time, the last frame lingers a little longer. The broken gate, the dark doorway, a suggestion of white where no one should be standing. Friends say she walks the campus with a blank face now, lips moving, as if repeating instructions only she can hear. When asked what she's muttering, she says, "Count the knots." Small things start repeating in the material world. The camcorder falls from a shelf again and again, even when taped down. The laptop screen, once cracked by accident, now shows a single diagonal gouge, deeper each morning, as if a blade is carving toward the webcam. On the wall of her bedroom, someone writes one word in heavy strokes: rope. She paints over it. By midnight, it shows through. Viewers of her clip send messages in a scatter of panic. Do you hear whispering? My wrists hurt. A boy in Hokkaido wakes with red bands circling both wrists, smooth and precise, as if tied by an expert. A girl in Kyoto swears there's a pale woman in the final frame, nearer with every watch. A moderator bans the thread. A mirror site springs up. The file is alive in transit. Akemi's professor calls these mass delusions a contagion of suggestion. He laughs at the word curse and tells her to sleep. No one else hears the rope creak in the hallway outside her door. No one else sees the footprints of damp, bare soles crossing her tatami, pausing at the closet, turning back. Her notes grow frantic. She draws knots, reef, clove, hangman, then circles the Shimenoa rope that marks a sacred boundary. Gates are thresholds, she writes. Ropes are promises. The whispers rise and braid into a single sentence she can almost understand. She whispers back without meaning to. She stops recognizing her own voice. The day she stops coming to class, the neighbors report a thud and a flicker of lights. Inside her apartment, they find the camcorder crushed, the laptop slashed open, the word on the wall bleeding through paint like a bruise. Rope. On her desk, a loop of coarse fibre rests where her headphones should be, still warm, as if freshly handled by invisible hands. The knot is new. The ritual chamber was suffocating. Ropes dangled from the ceiling, swaying though no air moved. Their frayed ends creaked as if pulled by invisible hands. In the corner, a mirror stood cracked, the fracture slicing Akemi's reflection into two jagged halves. She froze. Breath caught in her chest. Her reflection moved first. The head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like a puppet with broken strings. Then came the smile. Wide, wrong, stretching farther than a human mouth should. From the darkness behind her, a pale figure crawled into the dim glow. Its white shroud dragged along the floor, leaving streaks like smeared blood. The cloth covering its face was soaked and stitched shut across the eyes. Thread quivered as though the lids still blinked beneath. Its mouth worked open and closed, lips moving rapidly, but no sound emerged. The chamber filled instead with a hiss, low and rising, like ropes tightening around a throat. Symbols flared across the walls, glowing red, searing through the air. Her camera whipped sideways on its tripod, spinning out of control, capturing fragments. Ropes jerking, mirror shards trembling. Her own terrified face split into infinite pieces. Akemi reached for the exit, but her legs refused. The ropes above unfurled like serpents, dropping lower, swaying violently, circling her shoulders, her wrists. Every pull tightened without weight, yet her body arched back as if strangled by air. The figure crept closer, its stitched eyes angled toward her, mouth stretching wide in a silent scream. When its hands emerged from the shroud, long, colourless fingers tipped with cracked nails, they clawed the floorboards and dragged it forward with inhuman speed. The camera lens cracked. Static burst across the feed. Through the glitching screen, viewers would later swear they saw dozens of hands clawing from the walls, all reaching toward her. Her own scream never fully left her throat. The ropes jerked once, hard. The screen filled with flashing talismans, ancient characters tumbling like a storm of paper. Then darkness swallowed the frame. When the camera steadied at last, Akemi was gone. Only 7 ropes swung furiously, their ends frayed and wet, as if something had been cut loose. Ryan thought he could escape the curse by turning it into content. His blog had always been about urban legends, clicks, shares, the thrill of forbidden places. When he posted the coordinates of the mansion, the words felt like a warning, typed with trembling hands. Do not follow the ropes. But the internet only remembers what it wants. His last upload spread fast, an image of a pale wrist wrapped in rope, the skin grey, the fingers stiff like wax. People debated whether it was staged. Some laughed. A few zoomed in, swearing they could see the rope fibres digging into veins that no longer carried blood. The next day, his site was gone. Not deleted, not archived, wiped. Even cached links returned nothing but empty errors. Ryan himself was never heard from again. Those who had read his post weren't spared. They began reporting dreams. At first, just flashes, coarse rope dangling above their beds, shadows swaying across their ceilings. Then, the sounds, creaking wood, faint breaths, the dry rasp of something being tightened. Some woke with red marks on their wrists, unable to explain how. One reader swore she saw movement outside her apartment window, 6 floors up. A length of rope brushed against the glass, trailing down into the night. She moved out within a week, but claimed the rope followed her, appearing in mirrors, in reflections of water, even in the faint shine of her phone screen. Ryan's disappearance became a lesson whispered in forums. The mansion doesn't let you go. You don't need to step inside its halls to carry it with you. Sometimes fleeing means taking the haunting home. Those who barely survived, other explorers who cut their visits short, speak of scars that won't heal. A constant ache in their necks, phantom bruises, or a terror of closed rooms where ropes might hang unseen. They never go near abandoned buildings again. They leave doors open at night, as if escape could still be possible. But deep down, they all know the truth. The mansion marks you. Ryan's final words weren't just a warning. They were a verdict. Do not follow the ropes, because once you see them, they follow you. The truth did not come from a ghost hunter, nor from a priest, but from a retired folklore professor. who had spent his life piecing together fragments of Japan's darkest legends. He had once lectured at Tokyo University, specializing in the intersection of ritual and tragedy. When asked about the Himuro mansion, he leaned back in his chair, his voice low. "It was real," he said. "The ritual, the rope, the sacrifice, all of it." For decades, whispers had spread online that the mansion's curse was nothing more than a viral story. But the professor presented an artifact, a diary, its pages yellowed with age, retrieved from a locked trunk after the estate was abandoned. It belonged to the final maiden chosen for the Shinto rope ritual. Her handwriting trembled across the paper, describing nights of loneliness and unbearable fear. She confessed her only comfort came from a young servant who would sneak food and whisper songs through the cracks of her chamber door. In time, affection grew into forbidden love. That bond, the professor explained, was what broke the ritual's seal. The rope binding was not only meant to restrain the body, it was meant to sever every human connection, to strip away love, attachment, and desire, leaving a pure vessel. But the maiden refused to let go of her heart. On the night of the ceremony, when the ropes tightened, she thought of him. And something inside the ritual cracked. The diary's final page ended abruptly, words cut mid-sentence. The inkblot spread as if the pen was ripped away. That same night, the ropes frayed and snapped. Witnesses later described walls painted in blood, screams echoing into the forest. The purification failed. Instead of sealing the gateway, the mansion became a wound in the world. Spirits trapped inside spilled out, hungry and restless. Suddenly, every clue fit together. The ropes that appear in dreams, the whispers caught on tape, the pale woman with stitched eyes. They were not random hauntings, but remnants of the broken ritual, echoes of a massacre disguised as tradition. The professor's voice faded to a whisper. When love defied fear, the seal shattered, and those bound within have never stopped seeking release. What do you think? If the mansion truly collapsed, did the spirits dissolve with it? Or did they simply scatter into the world, waiting for the next doorway to open? Could a cursed place ever really vanish? Or does it just change form, hiding in the images, whispers, and half-remembered videos that refuse to die? In Japanese folklore, abandoned houses and failed rituals often leave behind yurei, restless spirits bound by emotion and unfinished duty. The Himuro mansion legend belongs to this lineage. Its failed rope ritual echoes the darker side of Shinto practices, where sacred bonds could turn into eternal chains if broken. For locals, the story is more than a ghost tale. It's a warning about obsession, secrecy, and the cost of tampering with what should remain sealed. And yet, the digital age has given the legend new life. Stories resurface on forums, blurred clips return to circulation, and anyone who watches them becomes part of the chain. In this way, the curse doesn't stay locked in ruins, it travels with us. So I'll leave you with a choice. Would you dare watch the full tape? Comment rope if you would risk it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next true Asian horror story.